Yes, I'm going to talk broadly about the ICG first of all, set the scene, and then look at the indie and comms and PR, as you can see there. Great, let's just check how I can advance the charts. Yes, perfectly. I thought I'd start with a philosophical question. Why are we here? Seriously, a quick consideration. Why does the ICG exist at all, and what are we trying to do with it? Broadly, two areas, as you can see, if you, as probably most of you did, went to the ICG website or looked at our advertising material, why on earth would you join? Broadly, the two areas: try independence, new business opportunities, promotion. Midge is going to talk a lot more about that and how you can do that to maximum effect. But broadly speaking, I think what all 400 or so of us recognize is increasingly it's tough out there. I know I'm stating the obvious, but business conditions are very tough for everyone. But in collaboration, I think the independent sector can achieve a lot more than floundering separately. I mean, together our combined turnover probably represents 1 or 2% of UK market research, and even less globally. So there is far more to be gained, I think, by collaboration and learning together than there is competing with each other, as most of our business is probably being won against larger consultancies. So collaboration and trying to support business, your business, is the first broad area you would join the ICG for. The second broad area is more about personal development and self and learning and reducing the feeling of isolation, and that is a very important role, I think, of the ICG. With our new website, especially, which I'm coming on board, there's to learn. There's a in the reference grid. Also, there's an increasing range of stuff you can do simply to have fun. And the fourth and final thing I was going to mention is that I think every one of us would recognize that at some time, and perhaps more often we like to admit, it's actually quite lonely sitting in your own office, often at home, and reducing that feeling of isolation through learning, through connection, face-to-face, through the e-group, is a great benefit. So that's why we're here and why we are paying our annual subs. Let me see if this will move on quickly. Yeah, there we are. Let me give you a little bit of history first of all, just paint the scene, what the ICG is all about. This group has actually been around now for many years. It was firstly part of the MRS. I'm imagining that most of you logged in today probably know what that is, but if there's anyone overseas, that's the UK Trade Association for Research, the Market Research Society, of which most of us are members. So it was a sort of loose interest group in the MRS, and 10 years ago, 150 people, and MRS wanted to not be running in groups, asked us to become up a limited company this February, when we grew very considerably. So we've been independent market independently for 10 years. We're a limited company, non-profit making, and as you can see, we've grown very considerably over 10 years. And I think this reflects A, our success, and B, the very considerable benefits of joining, but I'd have to admit it also reflects in the last few years, especially the business conditions in the UK, as quite a lot of senior agency executives have been let go and thought, well, I better set up my own consultancy. So we've passed now the 400 member mark very recently. About 90% of those are in the UK, but our spread is very broad. In particular, main continental Europe, France, Italy, Spain, and Germany to an extent, but we have I think half a dozen or so members in the USA, and a small scattering elsewhere. Even last week, I was working with one of our members in Germany and in Moscow. So that gives you an indication of the benefits and the spread of people we have available to work with. But despite this growth, we are still run very much on an informal basis. As you'll see, a lot of our activities are run by a volunteer committee, but although still informal, we have an increasing range of activities. There's a lot going on and a lot for you to gain from as members. And finally, I just want to mention the people you as members ought to know, and we have got a volunteer committee, but there are 3 people that we pay to help you to go along. And if I just go to the next chart, you'll see just a snapshot of who's who's involved in running the ICG and there to help you. The 3 people at the bottom in the red text there are our paid helpers. In particular, Andy Lang, our administrator for the last few years, lives up in Cambridge, and she helps a lot of individual members, especially those who are new to the ICG, setting up various things, understanding how to do different bits and pieces. Mark Eagling has worked with us for a number of years as our web developer. Issues with, for example, profile on Connect function, which Midge is going to go on to talk about in a moment. And I'm going to talk a bit about PR later on. And we have a retained freelance PR lady, Michelle, who's very, very good and very keen to have stories from people to promote. And then you can see our band of committee members there. We have 13 people on the committee 5 times a year, and really directs the activities of the organization. We're very keen to hear from members. If you've got ideas, how you think things should be done differently, we'd be delighted to hear from you always. We physically meet 5 times a year, and invariably there's a London meeting or social event after those committee meetings, but we're always available to be contacted. And last but not least, the 2 people in the pink in the middle. Ben's always in the pink, but e-group moderators. Ben's going to be talking today about the essential factors around the e-group, one of our the jewels in the crown, as it's often called, and Andre, who runs our solid material. I just want a chart to flick on to a snapshot of activities over the last year and a half. I'm going to talk about a number of these because they'll give you a good feel for some main benefits you get out of your membership. In social events, as you can see there running down the list, and we'll talk about our professional look and our external position to the world, and what we're trying to do there to get more and more people to engage with us, in particular potential buyers of research, but also potential members and others. And a couple of things I'm going to go on to talk about. So, what can you get from your membership, in particular on the social side? More and more is happening, as you can see with these 2 jolly pictures here taken from our 10th birthday celebrations last February. There are any events certainly in London and Manchester, but quite a lot of smaller informal gatherings, such as this one in the picture on the right here, birthday party in someone's house up in Oxford. We're delighted if local members want to try and get together and do things locally, connect together socially or more formally. But the waves of social connections between members seems to sort of rise and fall, fluctuate rather. But do remember that the word members is underlined there. Local stuff happens because someone locally is enthusiastic about doing it, i.e. you. There's no one out there who's suddenly going to say, let's do something. There's no one paid to set up parties and what have you. Things happen in the regions in particular because someone wants to make them happen, and we're very supportive of doing that. And for specific members in specific areas, or you can just do a search on the database, of course, in the free text box to look for example, members in Manchester or whatever. More formally, the committee does arrange a range of networking and social events in London and Manchester at the moment. You can see some pictures here on the a joint meeting in Manchester a couple of months ago, and in fact there was one last night which Arthur was speaking at as well in the same venue. We run them jointly with BIG, the Business Intelligence Group, usually speaker events. In London we have quite a range of events happening. You can see here Burns Night, the top photograph there last January. Our summer party is actually in the same pub. You can see on the outside, the bottom photograph there. Our next event in London, summer party, Thursday the 5th of July. What we're making here is there's a lot happening. You as members, I think, will gain a huge amount by bothering to get out there, bothering to support events, and bothering to network with your fellow independents. Okay, on this chart, I'm just going to mention our new identity logo website. The new website with that lovely new ICG logo in the bottom left there was launched middle of last year after a very considerable amount of work from, in particular, Liz, who's going to be talking after me, and Leslie Thompson on our committee, and a range of other people who did a lot of testing, workshops, etc. Why I'm talking about this is really to say how we're trying to position ourselves to the outside world and what there is on the website, which others are going to talk about. But what we decided middle of last year was, okay, we're almost 400 people. Let's get a bit more serious in terms of how we present ourselves, in particular to the outside world, but also internally. Let's organize the content on our website. The outside and members, and here's the result. We think it looks far more professional. We think it looks engaging. Lots of other people have given us good feedback. The main thing to say, really, in connection with this, there is now a lot on the website. The website has always been the forum, the meeting place of a lot of ideas and connections. As you all find more and more of good stuff there. A lot of thought to the website. There's a lot of senior and independents have bothered and put lots of time into articles, etc. There's a lot of good stuff to learn. There are articles here. I'm going to talk about some ICG, the guides in a moment, which you can take as PDFs. You can send them to clients and prospects. You can find out information about how to run your own businesses and hopefully use best practices in that regard. One other aspect of the website is our suppliers listing. It's a very good area. I would just encourage you to take that, especially if you're new to the ICG. You'll see a lot of e-group messages about have you registered for. Well, actually, on the website, yes, I know people pay for a listing here, so these are not vetted suppliers in any sense, but we do encourage, especially suppliers who are keen with independence, to put a listing up here. And online fieldwork suppliers. I can see 4 people there that I personally have worked with over the last year. Many of them are very good. So it's a good place to start with. And the other point to make briefly, the revenue we get from this page is touching £4,000 a year out of our 30,000 budget. So it's not inconsiderable, and these advertisers certainly help us to keep subscriptions to a decently acceptable level. Just thought I'd show you this picture here of our trade stand last year at the Insight Show, to say this is how we're trying to present ourselves in a far more professional way. This getting and generation, 3 very good leaflets there. The stand will next be on view at the Insight Show at Olympia at the end of June this year. Do get along if you can, visit the stand and support the ICG. It's a free-to-attend show, by the way, at London Olympia, so well worth attending and visiting some other stands. Okay, just in brief, some activities we're working on this year. Liz will say more about website and what we're doing there. More and more meetings happening in the southeast. As I mentioned, a lot of those are instigated by members themselves. Some of them are more social, others more learning events. And you see everything advertised in the events section of the website, and frequent reminders coming along over the e-group and otherwise. We're doing quite a lot on the communications side with some plans for the Indie, our magazine, working with the MRS and Aura to try and get more engagement with them. The how-to guides, there are 2 in the resources section of the website, and we're working on a 3rd. At the moment, we've got how-to guides for DIY online research, commissioning qualitative research, which has just been launched, and the next one coming along on how to do online qualitative. Just to say in brief, the reason we produce these guides, in particular the how to DIY online guide, which might be seen at first glance as a bit of a shot in the foot, but it's in recognition that there are lots and lots of clients out there, especially in medium to small companies, who are doing things like surveys do it anyway. So if they can do it well and use independents to help them set up, design, and analyze, then that surely is a good thing. So we're trying to engage, we're accepting the reality of what's happening out there, and just trying to get our profile up. Okay, the last 5 minutes and few charts are in fact from Alison, just talking in brief about her PR activities. I'm sorry I'm overrunning slightly, but I'll whiz through these fairly quickly, and they'll be there for you to reference as well. So just a few words then about terms of communications. We're trying to keep, obviously, membership up to date. There is a focus on internal communications with like the Indie and newer things like Twitter. So regular messages getting out there and promote the ICT to the world at large, both to potential new members and engage with the media as well generally. We've had a magazine in different formats for many years, which we call the Indie. Now it's effectively an e-Indie. In recent times, it's actually been through a number of formats, but a year or so ago, it was a PDF that was emailed to people every quarter or so. And now we've changed under Alison's excellent editorial guidance. We've changed it to a more topical, regularly updated magazine. And on the the bar there on the website, you'll see a magazine button. There's lots of features there for you to enjoy, and I hope people are indeed reading them. We'd like to think it's a very good area to go, but we are in fact reviewing format for this and how we might take it forward. We think there's a very good range of material there, but we've got a wider initiative, which we're calling Knowledge Share, under the stewardship of Karen Cooper on the committee, to look at how we organize a lot of the content in the resources, events and blogs, features in the magazine area. And we're also working on other areas such as book reviews and lists of who's been in the press. So watch that space. But the broad message in terms of ICG communications, I appreciate there's quite a lot on this chart from Alison, but the broad message here is none of this would happen unless we had material and regular input from the membership at large. You can see there the four main channels we're using in terms of disseminating information, which are what we call magazine on the website, topical news and features. There is a Twitter account, which is increasingly active. The LinkedIn, within LinkedIn, we have an ICG group, which has a pretty high number of members now, 240 odd, as you can see, out of 400 ICG members as a whole. So we're using this to try and get into the social media space as much as we can. But the e-group, of course, remains the focus for many people and the most immediate channel of communication, because, of course, it's opt-in. Couple of words on our outside world projection. We're simply trying to get three things done here. Raise profile, of course, and awareness. Get across a particular image of the ICG and this message, banging it away that it's here we have 400 experts, and why wouldn't you use us? And we're doing a lot of work trying to get that message across with a whole range of messages, in particular, or including, I should say, promoting the expert guides, which I've mentioned. And Michelle, again, is our PR consultant. She would love to hear from you, and she is paid partly to try and help you as individuals. If you've got an individual story, you want your company, she will give you some guidance on that, but she's not paid to heavily promote individual members and their companies using ICG money, as you can imagine. But she will be very helpful. There's quite a lot of text on this, so just to say very briefly, we have a lot of PR activities ongoing, including, just picking out one or two here, sending regular messages to Research Magazine and Research Live. That's the website of the MRS, or Research Magazine, and Mr. Webb. For example, for Research Live, we ran a bulletin board for their editor, Brian Tarrant, a couple of months ago, which hopefully will get us some prominence. I've mentioned Michelle supporting individual members, and we're running campaigns on Twitter, LinkedIn, etc., to promote specific stories and events, such as, for example, the ICG's Question Time, which is a really popular event in November, in London, which I'd recommend people get along to if they possibly can, a sort of question time debate. So that's quite enough from me. In summary, on the PR front, Michelle and Alison really want to hear from you. Alison's very busy running her own consultancy like every other ICG committee member, but she'd be delighted to get content, and she just simply couldn't do her job if she didn't have content from other members.